One day, Edward was talking to Trevor when Douglas steamed by. He was pulling a train of heavy coal trucks. "Come on, Edward. Stop gossiping in the sun when there's work to be done." Later, Edward spoke to Douglas. "Trevor and I are old friends, and you and he have a lot in common too." "Och, aye," quizzed Douglas. "And what'd that be?" "Scrap," said Edward quietly. Douglas gasped. "Don't mention that word. It makes my wheels wobble." "It does the same to Trevor," replied Edward. "He was being sent to the scrapyard, but the vicar and I saved him, and now he's really useful again. Even so, the Fat Controller certainly does need another steam engine here." "Aye, and quickly," sighed Douglas. That night, Douglas was still working. He had taken the midnight goods train to a station at a faraway part of the island where only the diesels work. He was just shunting, ready for his return journey, when... "That sounds like a steam engine," he thought. The hiss came again. "Who's there?" asked Douglas. A whisper came. "Are you a Fat Controller's engine?" I intruded. "Thank goodness. I'm Oliver, and I'm with my brake van towed. We've run out of coal and have no more steam." "But what are you doing?" "Escaping." "From what?" "Scrap." Douglas shivered. Then he remembered Edward's story about saving Trevor. "I'll be glad to help you," he said. "It'll have to look as if you're ready for scrap, and I'm taking you away." The drivers and firemen agreed to help too. Everyone worked fast. "No time to turn around," panted Douglas. "I'll run tender first. Come on." But before they could clear the station, they were stopped. "Aha!" exclaimed the foreman. "A Great Western engine and a brake van too. You can't take these." "Ah, but they're all for us," said Douglas's driver. "See for yourself." The foreman looked all over Oliver. "Seems in order. Right, away, guard." "That was a neat thing," puffed Douglas. "We've had worse," smiled Oliver. And they forged ahead. It was daylight when their journey ended. "We're home," cried Douglas. "Shh," said his driver. "There are the works. We'll find a place for Oliver." Oliver said goodbye and thank you, and Douglas puffed away. The next day, Douglas told the other engines all about Oliver. "The Fat Controller will have to know," said James. "Douglas should tell him at once," added Gordon. "Well, here he is," said a voice. "Now, what's this all about?" "Beg pardon, sir, but we do need another engine." "Yes, sir," ventured Gordon. "A steam engine, sir." "I'm afraid that unless one is saved from scrap, there's little hope." "But, sir," burst out Douglas, "one has." "Yes, indeed, and thanks to you, Douglas, he is now at our works. Oliver is just what we need for Duck's branch line." Everyone cheered. Now Oliver and Toad are mended and painted in full Great Western colours. Duck and Oliver are happy on their branch line. The others laughed at first and called it the Little Western. Duck and Oliver were delighted, and so the Little Western it will always be. On a clear day when the sky is blue and there is just enough breeze to blow the clouds away, you can stand on the big hill above the valley and watch Duck and Oliver far below, busily at work on Duck's branch line near the sea. The two engines are very proud of their matching coats of gleaming colour. Oliver often talks about the time that Douglas saved him from scrap. If it wasn't for his help, Oliver will say, I might have been caught when I ran away from the scrapyard, and I would never have come to live here on the Fat Controller's railway. The other engines all wanted to know about Oliver's adventures. Amazing, remarked Henry.
Oliver, said James, has resource.
And sagacity, put in Gordon. What does that mean? Whispered Percy. I think, replied Thomas, it's about being clever and wise. He is, finished Gordon, an example to us all. I'm sorry to say that Oliver became very puffed up in the smoke box. Henry says I'm amazing. He's right. He whistled as he swooshed along the line. One day, the Fat Controller came to see him. You are doing well. Now, you must learn how to look after trucks. Every wise engine knows that you cannot trust trucks. The other engines warned Oliver, but he took no notice. You think I can't manage? He said huffily. Gordon knows better. He says I'm sagacious. You may be good gracious, or whatever you call it, but trucks can be troublesome and— Say no more, Duck, interrupted Donald. It's maybe a pity, but the wee engine'll have to learn for himself. Oliver pulled some loaded trucks to a siding and pushed the empties to the chute. Then he came back to take the loaded trucks away. They were comfortable and didn't want to move. What right has he to poke his funnel in here? They grumbled. We want Duck, or Donald, or Douglas. Look sharp, puffed Oliver. That's not the way to speak, hissed the trucks. We'll pay him out. Oliver heard nothing. The trucks moved smoothly at first, then suddenly Oliver felt them push forward. His driver applied the brakes, but they were useless against the surging trucks. On, yelled the trucks. Oliver fought hard, but still they forced him on and on. At last the trucks grew tired. I'm winning, gasped Oliver. But it was too late. Oliver lay, bruised and bemused, bunkered down in the turntable well. Duck surveyed the damage. Hello, Oliver. Are you being a good gracious engine? Beg pardon, of course, but we really don't like this sort of surprise. Donald and Douglas will miss their turntable until it is mended. That evening, Oliver was hauled gently to safety. I'm sorry, sir, he said to the Fat Controller. I should have listened to Duck's advice. I don't feel good gracious, whatever it is. I just feel silly. Well, Oliver, replied the Fat Controller, now you know the damage trucks can do. Yes, I do, sir, groaned Oliver. I look like a load of scrap iron.
Ho, ho. Oh, I don't think so, laughed the Fat Controller. But you do need to go to the works to be mended.
The other engines now felt sorry for Oliver. The branch line won't be the same without you, whistled Duck. Come back soon. A few days later, Oliver did come back. His coat gleamed brighter than ever. He was a wiser engine, too, and never made a mistake about trucks again. had been to the works to be mended. Some troublesome trucks tricked him, and the Great Western engine fell into the turntable well. Now, Oliver was as good as new, but he was still worried about trucks. "I'd rather not use them," he puffed to himself. But the trucks sang songs, rude and loud. Scruffy, their leader, led the chorus.
Oliver's no use at all, thinks he's very clever, says that he can manage us, that's the best joke ever. When the yacht is on perhaps with the grates is falling, we just push him down the well. Pop goes old Dolly.
Thomas, Duck and Percy were shocked. "Be quiet," they ordered. But they couldn't be everywhere, and everywhere they weren't, the trucks began again.
Oliver's no use at all, thinks he's very clever, says that he can manage us, that's the best joke ever.
At last the engines gave up. "We're sorry, Oliver," they said. "It's really my fault," said Oliver sadly. "I shouldn't have fallen in the turntable well." Toad the brake fan felt sorry for Oliver too. Next morning he spoke to Douglas. "I'm worried, Mr. Douglas. This disrespect for engines, where's it going to end?" "Who knows?" sighed Douglas. "I've got a plan, Mr. Douglas. May I stay here today and help Mr. Oliver? We are both Great Western and must stand together." "Of course, Toad," replied Douglas and puffed away. Soon Toad was explaining his plan. "Goodness gracious, Toad, I don't think you should suggest such a thing to Oliver." But Oliver interrupted. "No, Duck, Toad's right. It's really my fault. I must put this trouble right. I meant no disrespect, you understand." "Of course not, Toad. Anyway, Driver says the same, and he's arranged it with the station master." "Very well, Oliver," conceded Duck. "But I must hurry. My passengers will be waiting. Good luck." "So long," smiled Oliver bravely, but he felt dreadfully nervous inside. Oliver marshalled the worst trucks 2 by 2. "That's the way, Mr. Oliver," whispered Toad. "And if you leave that Scruffy till last, you'll have him behind you. Then you can bump him if he starts his nonsense." Hold back," whispered Scruffy, and passed a word to the others. The silly trucks giggled. But Oliver knew what to do. There was plenty of sand on the rails and his wheels gripped splendidly. He gave a great heave. "Oh!" groaned Scruffy. "I don't like this." "Go it!" yelled Duck. "Well done, boy, well done." "Oh!" wailed Scruffy. "Oh! I'm coming apart!" And he did. Then there was trouble.
Well, Oliver, so you don't know your own strength, is that it?
No, sir," said Oliver nervously. The Fat Controller inspected Scruffy.
Has a thought. Rotten wood, rusty frames. Maybe if we put you back together, you'll earn yourself a better name.
Nowadays, Oliver only takes the trucks when the other engines are busy. But they are always quick to warn each other. "Take care with Mr. Oliver. If you play tricks on him, you'll never be the same truck again." Scruffy has learned his lesson and says nothing at all.
Superior